Wonderful, and here they all are. So welcome everybody. I'm really pleased to have Debbie, Sarah, Rochelle, Anu, and Simon. So they provide support, so they're really happy to connect with you and support you through your journey. They've been there and faced all the kind of challenges that you will be facing, which is incredibly helpful. Now, they invite you as well to turn your video on if you would like to ask any questions or make any comments on what they've shared or just generally on their experience. So feel free to either just continue to type into the chat box if you have questions or comments, or we can enable your audio and video if you prefer. So we're going to hear from everybody kindly giving us an overview of their own journeys. Debbie, then Sarah, then Rochelle, then Anu, then Simon. So thank you so much, everyone.
Hi everybody, please turn your videos on. We'd really like to see you. Please. I just wanted to start off saying to you all, you've got this. The fact that you're here and listening and learning is incredible, and I didn't have anything like this when I was diagnosed, and it is just so really, really important. So I'd like to share my MS journey with you. I was diagnosed 1st of February 2013, and it's not a day I'll ever forget. So that was almost 9 years ago. My very first symptoms were skin sensitivity, dizziness, I lost my taste and then my balance. And a co-worker of mine even said to me at 10 o'clock in the morning, "Have you been drinking?" After an MRI, which resulted in my diagnosis, I had multiple other symptoms which came and went over the next 2.5 years. This included numbness, vision issues, especially when I got hot, like when I was getting out of the shower. I was burning in my wrists, my legs were heavy, and I eventually learned that stress was playing a really big part in how I was feeling. And I try to avoid it now, which isn't always easy because, you know, life gets in the way. So I also adopted a 4-day rule. If something seemed to be going on with me, I used to give it 4 days before I would actually contact the MS nurses or my doctor. And that's only if it wasn't affecting my ability to go about my day. Like if it was more serious than that, I did something quicker. But if it was just a bit of numbness or tingling or something, I just used to give it 4 days. 6 months after my diagnosis, I went with my mum to the OMS retreat in Melbourne, and that was incredible. All I had to do every day was make my bed. And I met about 23 other people with varying degrees of MS and abilities. And some of those people I'm still in contact with today. It was a very valuable time for me. It gave me a chance to stop and learn a lot about living healthy with MS, and it gave me hope. So I started on my first medication in August 2015, and I was following the OMS lifestyle pretty strictly for the first 3.5 years until mid-2016. Later that same year, I had my second MRI, which showed complete healing of my spinal lesions and reduction in my brain lesions and no new activity. By this time, I had experienced most of the medications available here, and I very much believed the lifestyle I had been following was helping my body heal. For some reason, this wasn't enough motivation for me, go figure. And for the next 2.5 years, I slipped on the lifestyle and not regularly doing anything that I should have been. And then I experienced a severe relapse. No surprise, right? Which brought back and more all of my original symptoms one at a time for a period of 8 to 10 weeks. I sort of got something would happen, and then I'd go, "Oh, I feel good now," and then something else would happen, and it just carried on and on. This was very difficult as I couldn't walk straight, drive, or even cook a meal. I'm now currently on ocrelizumab or Ocrevus, and my MS has been stable for the last 2 years. This doesn't mean I'm symptom free. I'm not. I still have symptoms that I had 8 to 9 years ago, but these are my new normal, I guess. I forget everything. I have multiple to-do lists on my phone and often interrupt people because I know I'm going to forget what I want to say if I don't say it now. I do follow OMS most of the time, and by that I mean I make healthy choices as often as possible, and it isn't always possible, and I don't beat myself up. The biggest things I have learned on my journey so far, and what I would tell my newly diagnosed self if I could. I thought this would be one sentence, but I have 9 bullet points. Find your people to be on the journey with you. It really does help. I have my hubby who has been with me every step of the way, my mum who I've shared hundreds of recipes with, and my girls. They are all very understanding. We laugh a lot about the silly things I do. I have very close friends who always have my back and just know what I need and when. We are now your extended family too. So you aren't alone in this. Join a coffee group, hopefully in person soon. There is nothing like connecting with someone with MS, and they actually get it. I can remember the first time I met Anu. We ended up finishing each other's sentences. And we have been friends for 3 or 4 years now, I think. And we even have our infusions on the same day. Don't sweat the small stuff. If you are too tired to cook, do your housework or exercise, don't do it. Listen to your body and rest when you need to. You can always do it tomorrow. If you need it, ask for help. That's really, really important. Do take some time for you. If you weren't before, you are now the most important person in your life. You have a life-changing diagnosis, and what you choose to do with that and who you want to take along with you is up to you. Find your happy place, wherever that may be. Don't make yourself eat food you don't enjoy because you know it's healthier for you. 80-20 rule. Make good choices most of the time and don't beat yourself up or feel guilty the rest. It just creates unnecessary stress. I will be eating my mum's trifle on Christmas Day with whipped cream. No question is a dumb question. If you're thinking it, then very likely someone else is too. Keep a health diary and add an entry if you think it would be good to read or remember at a later date. I do this on my phone. I found mine last night, which covered about the first 3 years of post-diagnosis, which was very helpful, very interesting, and I had forgotten quite a lot. Exercise regularly. I'm nearly finished. I have recently completed the MS Get a Head Start with Jilly, Davey and Sarah. And we did it over Zoom twice a week for 6 weeks. I have learned so much and I enjoy exercising and make time to do it 5 to 6 times a week. And it's not a chore. It's part of my day now. After the first week, I was full of energy and felt so much better. So I totally know regular and specific exercise is very good for my MS. Finally, you are the captain of your own ship. Be your own biggest advocate. Ask questions. You are in control of you. This is your new journey. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. Morning, everyone. I'm Sarah. I'm 31 and I live in Sandringham with my partner and our 3 cats. I used to be an area manager for a footwear company, but due to the worsening of my MS, I decided to go back to study to get my 2nd degree. And I actually applied for the Dorothy L. Newman scholarship through MS Auckland. And that's a scholarship that helps people that have had to shift careers due to their MS. And I was lucky enough to be awarded the recipient in 2020. So I am currently halfway through my Bachelor of Social Work and I love it. I was lucky enough to be approached last year to become a peer support member, and I've just enjoyed meeting so many people and connecting with people in this lifelong club no one asked to be a member of. This incredible service wasn't around when I was first diagnosed at 23, and I wish it was. It's so overwhelming when you're first diagnosed, and even meeting another person with MS is so beneficial just to let you know that you're not alone. So I was diagnosed with relapse remitting MS in July of 2014. And actually in March of this year, my diagnosis changed to secondary progressive. So I've got a little bit more of an unusual MS story to some of the others. I'm half Australian, don't hold that against me. So I've actually been going to Australia every 6 months for the last 8 years to get all my MS treatment. So I'm very lucky I have a neuro team here and there, and it's obviously quite rare that I automatically get second opinions, I guess. So I'm extremely fortunate in that regard. I started on Galenia for 2 years. I then switched to Ocrevus for 3 years. And then I did 2 years of cladribine, which is an oral chemotherapy they give to leukemia patients. At the moment, though, I am waiting for a spot in MIQ to head back to Australia so that I can get on siponimod for the secondary progressive. Today, for my talk with you guys, I just really wanted to share some advice that I wish I was told when I was newly diagnosed. So first, if you don't have a GP or a medical practitioner who doesn't advocate for you, take you seriously, or listen to you, find a new one immediately. You'll need to see medical professionals more than other people, so it's so important you're being heard and you're not being dismissed due to your autoimmune condition. Also, when you get new symptoms, it's really important not to think, oh, it's just my MS, because there's so many things that can be helped. Sometimes people don't reach out because perhaps it's embarrassing, or they just think that this is their life now. For example, I've had massive bladder problems caused by my MS, and after talking to my GP and neuro, I've tried multiple different medications. I've had 2 surgeries, but life is considerably better than it was before. So many issues can be helped or eased, and you just don't need to suffer more than you already are. It's also really important to find a solid support network. If you don't have one, talking to a counsellor can be really beneficial, or there's peer support, which is why we're here. There's a quote I love, and it's called, "If I'm a lot, go find less." And I love it because I thought I was a burden for so many years. I was actually super secretive about my MS for the first 3 years. Only my family and about 5 of my closest friends knew. My work didn't, the rest of my friend group didn't. It seems silly, but I was almost ashamed in a sense. I didn't want anyone to think less of me, didn't want anyone to treat me differently, and I thoroughly regret that. I really wish I hadn't done that. I'm an open book with my MS now, and it's so liberating because I just learned it's part of my life, but it's also probably the least interesting thing about myself. And you'll hear it a lot. People say, you know, you're not your S, don't let it define you. It is so true. It's really important to understand that you haven't changed as a person. You're still as resilient, hilarious, kind as you were before, but maybe you just need a few more naps. If you want to chat or have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to Tatiana and she can put you in touch. It can be phone, FaceTime, in person, just whatever you're comfortable with. And the main thing to remember is you've got this, you've already survived all of your worst days, and you're so much stronger than you think. And then now I'll pass you on to the lovely Rochelle.
Kia ora koutou, my name's Rochelle Cave, and I live in Kenya with my family of 3 children, husband and dog, who is so close to my feet I literally can't move my chair at the moment. My diagnosis day was the 14th of October 2015, and I am unmedicated, so I don't qualify for any medication. So my entire MS journey is led by my lifestyle choices. So I wanted to share a bit of those today, and I wanted to share a little bit about, I've got sort of 4 actions that I take through my diagnosis to get me through, basically, and to lead me down the best possible pathway to being the best possible version of myself. I'm just going to quickly share my screen because it just sometimes it's nice to look at something other than my face. So this is, I hope you can see that. So these are so taking action on MS was something that I was really focused on. And what could I do in the absence of medications to support my journey? And these are the 4 things that are really central for me. So the first one was about strengthening and fueling my body. So for me, regular exercise and nutrition is a key aspect to my well-being and to my management of my MS. And it's that, and so far has been a very, very successful journey. I've had an incredible amount of gains and losses. So losses in terms of weights, I've lost 33 kgs. I have gained a huge amount of muscle mass. I've regained myelination in my brain according to my scans, and I have regained a lease on life that I think was starting to fade a bit. So I have a new sense of adventure and a new sense of wanting to explore and make the most of every single day. So strengthening and fueling my body is a massive part. The other action is focusing on balance. So when you make some big changes, sometimes you tend to lose that sense of balance and you throw yourself into something that is not maintainable. And so hence that balance gets thrown off. So and that is in every aspect of life. So sometimes when we get really intense news, we throw ourselves into our work to try and hide that, or we throw ourselves into something else and we lose that balance. So really focusing on balancing everything. And that goes back to what Debbie was saying before around those stresses and being aware of those and trying to reduce those and maintaining that balance. A big part of my journey was being able to share my story when I was ready, and a little bit like what Sarah was talking about, you know, I went into that dark place and I didn't share very much. There were very few people that knew about it for a while there, and I was terrified, to be honest. So it took me a while to be ready to share that journey. And but now that once I had these kind of perspectives and actions in place, it felt more comfortable to share that. So sharing my story to raise awareness and hope became really, really important to me. And I've done that in a number of ways. I've done that through our MS magazine. I've done that through, you know, coming into this space and being privileged to be able to support the likes of all of you on your own journeys. I've done some invitational speaking at small little corporate events just through my own personal networks around, you know, inspiring a little bit of belief in people despite adversity. And then finally, always have a goal. So one of the very first goals I set, and it was kind of crazy when I think about it, it was a really big one. I hate running with a passion, but I thought I'm going to run a half marathon. And so I thought, you know, that makes sense. Set a goal that is around something that you hate doing, that is really hard to achieve. But but I did it, and I did that. So that was in 2019. I ran that. So that was a few years post-diagnosis, and that was a massive achievement, and I'm really, really proud of that. And I couldn't have done that without the support. I have an incredible trainer who has been with me right since day one, and she helped me work towards that on a whole range of things. I'm happy to talk to anyone about that. Abby Useg is her name. I'll give her a plug because she's amazing. And then my next goal is to do the Able Tasman over a 4-day walk next year. So that's my next goal. So I'm working towards doing that at the moment. And yeah, so always have a goal, but maybe don't start with a half marathon because that was kind of intense. And I just wanted to share like all of those pictures, all of the pictures in the dots, are pictures post my diagnosis. So I wanted to share that, you know, post-diagnosis, there's life beyond your diagnosis, and you can still do incredible things and be a part of your family's life and climb those rocks and do those walks, you know, when you have the right support around you and you put the right actions in place to support that activity. So that was really me. So yeah, if anyone would like to talk to me about anything, I'm here, and reach out. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Rochelle. That was really interesting. Every time I hear you guys talk, all I can think is like, oh, I should have written that down as well. Like, that was such a good point. But I'm here today, and all of you guys had such good ideas. So I'm Anu. I've had MS for 6 years, since December 2015. I was diagnosed 1 week shy of my 18th birthday, and I'm now 23. Getting the diagnosis was really bittersweet. Once an MRI confirmed my diagnosis, the overall feeling for myself and my loved ones was immense relief. We all feared it would be something that there was no hope for intervention, medication, or like a normal future, but we were super pleasantly surprised that it was MS, because it's actually very manageable and you have a lot more control than you think a lot of the time, especially when you see the other diseases that they thought might have been the problem at the time. And in terms of medication, I've been incredibly lucky. I have family who work in medicine in America, and they helped me jump through hoops to get access to the medication that is right for me. And I was traveling back and forth from the States for a while. Luckily, I can get my medication in New Zealand. And this whole process has made me incredibly passionate about being your own advocate and how important it is to work on your mind-body connection so that you know your symptoms better than anyone else around you. And if someone tells you that you should be feeling a certain way, you can stop and say, no, I know exactly how I'm feeling because this is my body. And that's mean that I've had to be assertive to my family members. I've had to be assertive to medical professionals about the fact that I know better about a lot of my symptoms. Yeah, so I've been on Ocrevus for the last few years. It's working really well for me. I have experiences from Tecfidera and Gilenya beforehand. And this was a pretty tough process for me because, and it was often super demotivating and isolating, going between different drugs, trying out new things. I didn't want to worry all my loved ones or my family. So I found myself never sharing my pain or my thoughts with anyone because I didn't want them to be sad about the fact that I was in pain. And if I did share with my medical professionals, I would often leave out the emotional toll that these experiences were taking on me. And in the first 1 to 2 years, my mum actually attended a few of the MS coffee groups and really tried to encourage me to go along. And I was very apprehensive. I felt like it would be way too confronting for me at 18. I was still figuring out my future. I didn't think I would relate to people with MS, and I certainly didn't think they would relate to me. There was also feelings of guilt there with being able-bodied and going into groups of people with varying levels of ability. And that was a very, very intense thing for me to think through. And then one day our neurologist connected Debbie and I quickly realized the value in communicating with someone who I can relate to on so many levels, including like sharing my symptoms, trying different drugs, implementing different lifestyle interventions. And at the same time, MS is a snowflake disease, and Debbie and I are entirely different in so many ways that we can still listen to each other, but also we can empathize and sympathize. And that was something that I'd never had before I met Debbie. So as soon as I realized that, I was shocked that I had been leaving this kind of communication out of my life. And like throughout my journey, I was constantly reminded that being young with MS is really hard. And when I was newly diagnosed, for a long time, I had tunnel vision and I was fixated on everything that I couldn't do, I couldn't eat, or I couldn't experience because of MS. And all the while, I chose to ignore all the things that, the amazing things that I can do, I can partake in, and that I do every single day. So instead of obsessing over these things that I can't do, I started to mourn the loss of my old body. I was someone who was very, very athletic. I grew up playing and competing in multiple sports. I decided to mourn the fact that, yeah, you could do that. Look at how amazing that was back then. I decided to become realistic, set achievable goals for myself. I decided to go to university, which was not something that was part of my plan, at least not so soon. And I decided to study part-time because I know my capacity for learning and I've taken into consideration my limitations. And it was important for me to realize that this was not to measure up to my peers of the same age who I perceived as doing more than I did. I set goals to genuinely achieve my own personal milestones. I began to understand I can reach the same heights and accomplishments, but my journey will really look different to the people around me. And as I started to make my life more equitable, my goals naturally changed. My future began to look different and a lot more hopeful. My outlook on life naturally just began to improve the more I talked and learned about MS. I've always loved cooking food, and MS has fostered this passion into one of my most consistent and fulfilling hobbies. I feel like I'm regaining control that my diagnosis did take away from me for a long time. And I did used to be incredibly consistent, no days off, no excuses, no slip ups. But with Debbie's help and guidance, I began to realize that this was actually causing me more stress than it was helping me. And stress is the biggest trigger for MS. After meeting many people with MS, the common denominator I observe is that we are all high achieving and high stress individuals. After this realization, I focused on reducing stress and planning ahead so I could spend more time on activities that I really care about. And this includes, like Debbie said, letting myself have a 10 to 20% of a break, whether it's eating a treat or having a nap, because 80 to 90% of the time I'm really consistent and I feel really good about that. So yeah, MS has led me to be really passionate about my endeavors. I prioritize myself more than before. I work to improve the quality of my life and general well-being. And my MS journey has taught me how to accept help from others, how to be assertive about my limitations and really listen to my body and trust my instinct. My journey with MS has not been linear. I don't think anyone's is. Being young, still figuring things out while getting MS was extremely difficult and isolating. Writing things down and keeping track has been crucial. I cannot stress enough how important it is to get involved in some capacity when you're newly diagnosed, and especially if you're young. if I could go back and tell my newly diagnosed self one thing, it would be, don't fear the confrontation. Remain open to learning from other people's experiences and don't feel guilty. Your journey is just as valid. For anyone who's going for their treatment, like Debbie said, talk to people around you. See if you can make an infusion buddy, someone to share experiences with, to share thoughts with, and it gives you a reason to look forward to your next infusion when you're next in hospital. And you face the effects of your decisions, no one else. So remember, knowledge is power, and do what is right by you. Even if there's people around you who don't understand it, they will have to accept that you're doing what you're doing because you care about your health. So yeah, that's all for me today. I'll pass it on to Simon.
Hey everyone, what a hard act to follow. I'm Simon, I'm 33. I'm a train driver. I live out west in Auckland here, and I'm the only male peer support volunteer, which is pretty cool and something that I'm quite proud of. So I guess my MS journey a couple of years ago, I woke up with optical neuritis in my right eye, complete vision loss, and it was very scary, very, very scary. Obviously, I need my vision for my job being a train driver, and there's certain criteria I have to meet medically to be able to fulfill that job as well. So I experience pins and needles in my hands, arms, feet, legs. That seems to be the only kind of symptom that I'm sort of experiencing at the moment. And I just had my annual MRI, so it'd be interesting to see the result of that. So I just wanted to touch on a couple of points. Having a great team behind you, you know, Debbie, Sarah, and you know, last week it was mentioned as well, you need a great team behind you. So your neurologist, your doctor, family and friends. You know, as Sarah said, if they're not listening to your needs and wants, change them, because, you know, MS is a marathon. It's not a sprint. In Rochelle's case, it's a half marathon, but it is a marathon, okay? And you have to pace yourself, and you need the right team behind you all the way. I just wanted to touch on work conversations and working with MS. So for myself, I had a legal obligation to notify my employer of my MS. You know, at times I'm carrying up to 800 passengers on a train at any one time. So I had a legal obligation to notify them. It was quite scary because, you know, I guess, you know, something I like to say is sometimes the worst thing in our lives never happen. Okay, what I mean by that is we, you know, think of the worst case scenario, but it's not always the case. I made a plan to, you know, meet with head of management, and I got everyone involved to have this meeting to notify them of my MS. But I guess it's just around planning. You know, what information you actually share, who you need to tell. You know, is it just management you need to tell? Do you have to tell your entire team? That's up to you. I guess if you don't have a legal obligation and your symptoms are manageable, and it doesn't affect your day-to-day working, and you're still able to perform, then maybe, you know, you don't have to share the information. But a lot of people don't actually fully understand what MS is. I myself, before being diagnosed, I didn't have a clue, you know what I mean? So a lot of people don't actually know the ins and outs of it. So it's really important that you gather the correct information that you share. Maybe it's pamphlets, you share websites, give them a better understanding moving forward. Need for breaks and mind fog. So if this is something that affects you, it's important that you tell your employer that you will need regular breaks, or maybe you split your working week up if you're able to work from home. You know, if you're not feeling well when you wake up, or you're fatigued, make those calls early. So my employer knows that obviously I have MS. If I wake up and, you know, I'm fatigued, I've done it a couple of times, I just tell them, look, I'm having an MS day, and they get it. There's no questions asked because I've already explained all that information up front. So that's really important. the other thing too is just that working relationship moving forward. Okay, so it works both ways. All right. So yeah, take sick leave if needed, take that time out, and just give them that understanding. Keeping positive. So when I was first diagnosed with MS, it rocked my world. It really, really did. Obviously, also being a male, you know, I want to provide for my family and, you know, fit and healthy. These are all sorts of things that sit with me, and I found it really hard. But keeping positive throughout the journey has really, really helped me. Okay, so I do this through exercise, through fishing, kayaking. I have a rowing machine as well, so that's one of my favorite pastimes is rowing and kayaking. But you know, I get out on the water, I'm still doing the things I love to do, and it keeps me happy. So you may have to change the goalposts a little bit, but you can still play the game. Okay, you may have to shift the goalposts, but you can still play the game. That's really important to remember as well. And listen to your body. Okay, listen to your body throughout this journey. Manage your fatigue. I like to use a pizza analogy. Okay, so I can eat a whole pizza in one sitting. But however, if I only have 2 pieces or 3 pieces and you wait an hour, you know, I then feel full. And the same goes for your day-to-day, you know, day-to-day life, doing chores around the house, mowing the lawns, these sorts of things. Break it up and make it manageable. So yeah, I guess that's sort of all I want to talk about today. If anyone does want to reach out and have a chat, by all means speak to Tatiana and I'll be more than happy to have a chat with you. Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you so much to you all for sharing your stories so openly and so generously. Lee has chatted here. Thank you so much to everyone for sharing your personal stories. Greatly appreciated. Many thanks to you all. So if anyone has any questions for the peer support team, I think I've enabled everybody's videos, but if not, send me a chat in the box or just type the message in and I'll read it out. So you're anonymous. Okay. I think that might be it for today. So our wonderful peer support team is here for you, and I'd really encourage you to connect with them via Tatiana. There's nothing more powerful than meeting others in the same boat. As you can see, they've got an array of positions that they're coming from and experiences with MS. Somebody else has posted, thank you so much to all the peer support people. You have made a real difference in my life. Wonderful. All right, I think on that note, does anybody else have anything to say who's on screen?
Can I just invite everybody to join our next newly diagnosed Zoom group, coffee group. And yeah, if you have any questions following this, don't hesitate to send me an email. And yeah, looking forward to seeing you all.
Thanks, Tatiana. And we'll see you this time next week for our clinical session with Dr. Pereira and the MS nurses. And these recordings will be on our website. Sorry, Tatiana.
I was just saying thank you, team. It's a task. It's quite a challenge to come and share your story. It's not an easy journey, so I really appreciate you doing that. Thank you so much.
Indeed. All right. Enjoy your weekend, everybody, and thank you again. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.